Hello, Alabama. Alabama football doesn't have the luxury of lukewarm seasons. And the game against Tennessee in 2025, according to ESPN, will be a game that will decide whether a team wins or not. Let's analyze the news. Kalen DeBoer is now in charge, and if there's one thing that's certain in college sports, it's that the Crimson Tide isn't playing as a supporting player. ESPN pointed to the duel against Tennessee, on October 18, 2025, as a game that could define the Tide's season, and rightly so. After all, losing to the Vols twice in a row would be a setback that no one in Tuscaloosa wants to see happen. Last year still weighs on us. The 24-17 loss in Knoxville was a tough blow, one of those setbacks that become decisive when the playoffs hang in the balance. And let's face it, any slight mistake can be costly in a scenario as competitive as college football. Now, the game will be at home, at Bryant-Denny Stadium, and if there's one place Alabama needs to assert itself, it's in front of its own fans. ESPN's Chris Lowe pointed out that the Tide's schedule will be anything but easy before and after this matchup. A trip to Georgia in September will be a big test in itself. And after the Tennessee game, the team will face Missouri and South Carolina on the road, before a well-deserved bye week before the matchup with LSU. In other words, October will be a month of war for DeBoer and company. The stakes are much higher than a win. It's about maintaining Alabama's identity. Under Nick Saban, the Crimson Tide won 15 straight games against Tennessee. It was absolute dominance, an annual reminder of who was in charge in the SEC. But the Vols have won 2 of the last 3 meetings, and now they're trying to turn the tide of the rivalry. For DeBoer, losing again would mean giving up ground to a Tennessee team that, for too long, has been a mere roadblock, not a real threat. This is the kind of game that defines legacies. Alabama can't afford to make another mistake like it did in 2024. A win against Tennessee puts the Tide back on track for the playoffs, continuing their tradition of chasing the top of the SEC. A loss, on the other hand, would not only hurt the team's chances, but would give the Vols something they haven't had in 2 decades, confidence that they can truly compete with the Tuscaloosa Giant. Kalen DeBoer is here to keep Alabama great and keep the program from losing its powerhouse status. Beating Tennessee isn't just about rankings, it's a necessity to keep the Crimson Tide right where they've always been, at the top. Let's keep going. Alabama continues to show why it is a true talent factory for the NFL. If there was any doubt about the impact of former Crimson Tide players at the professional level, the 2024-25 season answered that with impressive numbers. No less than 886 points were scored by Alabama alumni in the regular season, an all-time record that dethroned the previous mark set by Florida State in 2016, of 705 points. And the difference was no small one. This feat did not come by chance. Alabama has long been a breeding ground for NFL stars, and the latest generation has proven that once again. The big name behind this achievement was Jahmyr Gibbs, the explosive running back for the Detroit Lions, who recorded 20 touchdowns and led the scoring statistics among former Tide players. But Gibbs was not alone. Derrick Henry, a name already established in the league and a key player for the Baltimore Ravens, totaled 18 touchdowns. Right behind him was Josh Jacobs, now with the Green Bay Packers, who scored 16 times. Rounding out the list of top scorers, Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts contributed 14 touchdowns, maintaining his reputation as one of the most dynamic signal callers in the league. And that's not all. The record wouldn't have been broken without important contributions from other names. Jameson Williams, Lions, Devonta Smith, Eagles, and Brian Robinson Jr., Commanders, each scored 8 touchdowns, helping to cement an unforgettable year for the former Alabama players. The scariest thing for opponents? That number could rise even higher in 2025. C.J. Dippre and Jalen Milroe, 2 talents who passed through the hands of the Crimson Tide, are on their way to the NFL draft and could be the next to add to that statistic. Milroe, in particular, has already demonstrated his athletic ability and talent for explosive decisions on the field. Depending on how he fits into the next team, he could become yet another Alabama quarterback to shine on NFL Sundays. Alabama's impact on college football is already undeniable. But when we look at the NFL, it becomes even clearer what this program represents: a machine producing talent ready to make history at the highest level of the sport. If 2024 already brought a new record, it's safe to say that no one will be surprised if Alabama makes history again in 2025. The Bama program that has always known how to turn every detail into a crucial piece on the recruiting board is once again in the spotlight, albeit in a discreet way. After all, when it comes to attracting talent that can change the destiny of a team, Alabama knows that the difference lies in tireless dedication, strategic visits, and building solid relationships. And that's exactly what happened recently with Canon Pickett, a name that is already beginning to resonate among fans. Canon Pickett, a four-star interior offensive lineman in the class of 2026, narrowed his list of finalists to 10 schools this week, and Alabama made it into that select group. It was no coincidence. Ever since he received the offer from the Crimson Tide in late January, it was clear that the program was willing to do its part to convince the young player that Tuscaloosa is the right place for him to grow as an athlete and as a person. The day after the offer was made, head coach Kalen DeBoer and offensive line coach Chris Kapolovic went one step further. They went to Pickett's high school for an in-person visit. This kind of gesture, which may seem simple to some, carries a lot of weight. It's Alabama showing that it's not just interested in names and rankings, but in people and potential. Of course, we all know that the path to Canon Pickett won't be easy. Miami, with its family legacy and emotional ties, is the overwhelming favorite in this race. Canon's father, Booker Pickett Sr., played for the Hurricanes in the 1990s, and his brother, Booker Jr., has already signed with Miami as part of the 2024 recruiting class. That family connection is powerful, and it would be naive to ignore the impact it can have on a young player's final decision. But here's the thing: Alabama has never given up on a battle just because the wind was against it. If there's one thing Kalen DeBoer and his staff have demonstrated since taking the reins of the program, it's that they know how to build bridges where others see walls. DeBoer's work goes beyond on-field tactics or accumulated victories. He has shown a remarkable ability to connect with players and their families, to understand their ambitions and concerns. This is evident in small gestures, like the visit to Pickett's school. It's not just about selling a dream, it's about creating a realistic and compelling narrative of how Alabama can be the ideal place for a player to reach his full potential. And let's face it, few programs in the country offer as many tools to do that as the Crimson Tide. Between state-of-the-art facilities, a highly skilled coaching staff, and an undisputed track record of success, Alabama knows it has a lot to offer. But let's get back to Canon Pickett. While Miami has clear advantages, especially on the emotional side, Alabama has something equally valuable: the ability to adapt and evolve. Kalen DeBoer has demonstrated that he understands the new landscape of college football, where players' decisions are influenced by a combination of tradition, opportunity, and, yes, emotion. He knows that winning Pickett over doesn't just involve showing the program's resume. He needs to show that Alabama is more than a football team. It's a family, a community, a place where stories are written and dreams come true. As we wait for this story to unfold, it's worth noting what it represents for Alabama's future. Each recruit is a piece of the puzzle, and each decision is a step toward the next big goal. For Kalen DeBoer, this recruiting process is proof that the program remains a dominant force, capable of competing for the best talent in the country, no matter the circumstances. And if Canon Pickett decides that his future lies in Tuscaloosa, it will be another chapter in the Crimson Tide's long and storied history, a story that, even in the dead of season, never stops being written. And now it's up to Alabama fans to watch closely, confident that the program will do everything in its power to ensure that another young talent dons the red and white. Because, at the end of the day, that's how great teams are built, with patience, strategy, and, above all, passion. And another recruit that Bama has its eye on is Grant Havland. A sophomore tight end from Milton High School in Georgia, Havland is at a pivotal moment in his career as a player. With just over 15 offers from major college programs, including big names like Alabama, Georgia, Miami, and Texas, he finds himself in an enviable position. But what caught everyone's attention in this story was his reaction to Alabama's offer. "I like how they use multiple tight ends," Havland said, revealing that the Crimson Tide's style of play has a special appeal for him. This statement, as simple as it may seem, carries a deep meaning, especially for a program that has always known how to adapt to the characteristics of its players to maximize their potential. Alabama's use of multiple tight ends is nothing new, but it continues to be one of the team's trademarks. It's a strategy that requires versatility, physical strength, and game intelligence, qualities that seem to align perfectly with Havland's profile. He's still early in his high school career, but he's already demonstrating a level of maturity and vision for the game that's been eye-catching. For a player who's just starting to build his identity on the field, knowing that a program like Alabama values his skills and offers a system that can bring them to life is certainly a big deal. Since taking over as head coach of the Crimson Tide, head coach Canon has worked to continue the tradition of tactical innovation and adapting to the needs of his players. He knows that in modern football, it's not enough to have the best players, you have to put them in positions where they can shine. And that seems to resonate with Havland, who not only recognizes the philosophy, but is drawn to it. It's no wonder the young tight end is eager to visit Alabama's campus this spring. That visit, while still just an early step in the recruiting process, could be a game changer in strengthening the ties between the player and the program. Of course, Alabama isn't alone in this race. Havland's home state of Georgia is a natural contender, especially considering the emotional and geographic attachment many players feel to their home state. Additionally, programs like Miami and Texas are also in the running, each with their own unique appeal. But here's the thing about Alabama, it doesn't just compete, it adapts. The program has a long history of successfully attracting talent from different regions, showing that its influence transcends state lines. And with Canon at the helm, that power of attraction appears to be stronger than ever. Another important point to note is the timing of this offer. Havland's recruitment has gained traction in recent weeks, with Alabama being the latest program to jump in. It shows that the Crimson Tide is aware of the market and doesn't hesitate to act when it identifies a player who might fit the team's profile. It's not just about offering a spot, it's about doing it at the right time, with the right approach, and with the right offer. And by the looks of it, the offer made to Havland met all of those criteria. As we wait to see how this story unfolds, it's clear that Alabama is once again showing why it's considered one of the giants of college football. The program doesn't just scout talent, it creates connections, provides opportunities, and most of all, demonstrates that it's committed to helping young athletes achieve their dreams. For Grant Havland, this offer represents a chance to be a part of something bigger than himself, something that, if he chooses to wear the red and white, could define not only his career, but the future of Alabama itself. Now I want to know, and I'm sure you do too, if this guy signs with Bama.